Hey guys, my name is Francisco Hernandez, and in today's video, I'm starting off a new series called Behind the Shot, where I basically break down everything about how I created a photo. And the reason why I'm doing this series is because sometimes I don't get to record shoots, and I still want to give you guys information about how I created my photos. So without further ado, let's get started. So one of the things that you guys ask me often is how I even get in contact with models in the first place. And the situation with Barbie was one that actually started way back at the end of 2014 in December. I had just graduated back in August and I was really hungry to learn. So I put a lot of messages out to local photographers asking if they needed assistance. Unfortunately, I didn't get that many replies at all. I actually just got one out of about 40 messages. And that photographer lived about an hour away from me. He let me know that he was going to do a photo shoot in a couple of days and that I was more than welcome to join. The day came and I was really eager to shoot despite the fact that it was raining really hard and we were shooting in the nighttime. I think it was maybe like 8 or 9 p.m. So I drove an hour away to the shoot and that's where I got to meet the photographer and also Barbie. This is one of the photos that we took at that shoot. So I wanted you guys to see this photo so you guys can get a little bit of insight about how I even got to meet with Barbie. She ended up moving after this shoot, so I didn't get to work with her until earlier this year when she hit me up and said, hey, I'm gonna be in town. Do you wanna do a photo shoot together? And of course I said yes. So that's basically how we got to know each other and how we got to shoot together earlier this year. And the next thing that I wanna break down is the wardrobe and the location. The location was actually Barbie's idea. She had passed by it, I think because she lives in the area, and said, maybe this is a good spot to shoot at. So she let me know the location. I checked it out on Google Maps, which is pretty much what I always do whenever an area is probably accessible to Google Maps. And I did that. I looked at the location via Google Maps at the comfort of my home. I thought it was pretty nice to shoot at, so I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and shoot there. So that's how I decided on the location, how we decided on the location. And the wardrobe is something that I wanted to go over as well because, that's pretty important. Unfortunately, I'm not at the level where I want to be at when it comes to coming up with the wardrobe, but I trusted Barbie because she has a great sense of style. And when it comes to the makeup, she actually did the makeup herself. So that was pretty cool that she was able to do the makeup and she had a great wardrobe to work with. Although I did have my Sony a6500 at the time of the shoot, I didn't know how to use the crane stabilizer. So what I'm showing you guys is just some extra footage to kind of make up for the fact that I did record the shoot, but I did so with Facebook Live and the quality is just so bad. So enjoy the good quality that you're seeing right now because I'm about to show you some screen grabs that are pretty bad. Okay, so here's the first of the screen grabs that I wanted to show you. And the reason why I'm doing so is to kind of give you guys some insight about how I wanted to light the shot. So I knew that I was gonna have to expose for the sky, which was gonna cause the ambient around her to be really dark. So that was gonna cause some dark shadows. And I knew that I didn't want them to be that dark. So I brought out a reflector. I told my friend Hector to hold it in that specific area. That's what I'm doing in this screen grab. I'm showing him where I want the reflector to be. In this second screen grab, I wanted to point out the fact that the light is not too far, but it ended up being too far for the photo that I ended up taking. So you guys can see that it's not even that far of a distance. The light is maybe 3 feet away from her, 3.5 feet away. But I ended up moving it a lot closer to this distance, which was like a foot away. And it actually is inside the shot that I ended up taking, and I cloned out a little bit of the corner of the photo to get the octabox out. I also wanted to point out the fact that the reflector was initially about this far. Excuse the poor quality, but I wanted to show you guys how far the reflector was. I don't know, that's about a good 5 feet, but I ended up moving it this close, which was maybe 2.5 feet. So about half the distance. And that ended up being a great position where I got the drama from the shadows, but I didn't completely eliminate them. What I'm gonna do now is show you guys the completely straight out of camera shots that I ended up taking. And this photo right here was one that I took just to show you guys how dark the light was on the model without any lighting. What I also want to point out is the fact that the exposure is at 1.4 1/8000 ISO 50. But in the next shot, what I did was add lighting, but also narrow down the aperture to f2.8 to get a little bit more of that sky in the background more in focus, because I wanted it to be in focus a little bit. So as you guys can see, the light is not nearly as bright as it should be, and it was even on full power, which is why from the screen grabs that I showed you, why I moved it from I think about 3.5 feet to 1 foot. What you see here is the photo that I ended up getting after I did the adjustments that I made, and one of the biggest adjustments that I did was bringing down the highlights a lot. So if you guys can tell, the highlights were a lot brighter, and I didn't want that. It was gonna be too bright and take away from the attention that's on the model. So I brought them way down. And I also had the exposure way dark at this level, and I brought it up to 1.5. In addition to that, some of the biggest adjustments were the select adjustments that I made on the model. I not only just, brought up the exposure on her eyes, but I did 3 separate exposures on the areas around here. So what I'm gonna do is show you guys those. So this is the photo without any selective adjustments. This is a little bit of brightness on her. This is her and the background around her, and this is a little bit more on her and the slightly little bit less on the background, but still on the background. After I exported the image and brought it into Photoshop, I noticed that in the top left corner the octabox was showing up, so I needed to remove it, and I did so using the patch tool. So what I did was sample something around this area and brought it over here, and this is the result that I ended up with. Something that I also do was I also look at the details, and I remove little imperfections that I don't want necessarily in the shot. So in this next layer is a little bit of the blemishes and stuff. I don't know, something that was here on her skin that I ended up removing. So that's that layer. I'm going to zoom back out and show you guys how the color toning was. Color toning is something that I either do at the very last step or the very first step. Well, not necessarily the very first step, but maybe the first couple of steps. So I mess with the colors, which I use the color balance tool with, and I always mess around with each little tone area, the mid-tone, shadows, and the highlights. And I ended up with this result. And I thought this color was a nice dramatic feel. I don't know, I just when it's a little warmer like this and had a little bit of greens to the image, I didn't necessarily thought it had a lot of impact. So I toned it down to this level, and I liked the photo a lot more. So that's why I color toned it to this level. I just felt it had more drama. I also brightened the image a little bit. It's very light, but that's what you're seeing right there. I also did a little bit of dodge and burn, which is what you guys are seeing right here. Also, feel free to like the video and let me know if you want to see dodge and burn tutorial. Let's see, I also have this layer called small stuff, which I'm pretty sure is just stuff that's very close, that you can't really see from this level. Let's see if I can find out what I did. Oh yeah, the little areas right here and that little mark there. So I'm gonna zoom back out. And then the next step that I did was a little bit of frequency separation. And sometimes this can be, easily overdone. And specifically with Barbie, she had great skin, so I didn't want to make it look too plastic. So I just applied the slightest little bit of frequency separation, and you guys can see how the skin looks like without using frequency separation. She had great skin. So I'm gonna show you guys the little bit of editing that I did after. It's very, very subtle. The highlights in her ear specifically, I brought them to a level where they looked softer. It just felt a little bit more dreamier, and that's the vibe that I wanted to get with this photo. I also removed a little bit more blemishes from her face. I did a little bit more dodge and burn to her elbow there. I added a little bit of vibrance. I also took as you guys can see, the hair bun was a little messy on top, so I fixed that. I think it was also a mixture of the stamp tool, the patch tool, but also the stamps tool. I also brightened up a little bit of the area around her hair bun, which is why I called it hair dodge. I did another round of dodge and burn, which you guys can see here. And this layer is called hand makeup because, as you guys can see close, that there's a little bit of makeup from when she did her makeup on her hands, and I didn't want that in the shot, so I removed it. And I pretty much used the stamp tool. the skin tones were something that were not even throughout the, throughout her body. So I wanted to fix that. So I did so. I added a little bit of color from this area over here, so you guys can see that. It's very subtle, but it's there. That's why that one's called skin tone. And this next layer is for just her nail. So I'm gonna zoom in on her nail. And you guys can see that she doesn't have a nail on there, but now she does. And all I did was sample this nail right here. I, copied it and pasted it there, and I just masked out the areas that didn't fit, the little bit of sky that was around here. And that's how I got that. And that's pretty much how I edited that photo. I'm gonna show you guys the before and after. Before and after. Before and after. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to give me any feedback about how to structure these so you guys can better understand, or just feedback in general. Yeah, feel free to like the video if it helped, and I'll see you guys in the next one.